Now, I'd like to conjugate these, and we're only going to conjugate them in the yo form, because right now we're just talking about ourselves, and that's going to give you a chance to get used to these verbs before we add in other people. There's always more than one way to do something, so if you prefer to do this in a different order, or you've learned it a different way, that's absolutely fine. But for me, this is the way that it made sense. So you take the verb bañarse, and I say, oh look, there's a se. I know this is reflexive, but I'm going to take it off so I can conjugate. This first step is to remove the se, and then you're left with bañar. Then you're going to conjugate normally according to the normal rules, if it's a regular or irregular or a spelling change. In this case, we're going to conjugate for the yo form. Take off the AR and add an O. It becomes baño. And then step 3 is to add the correct reflexive pronoun, which in this case, yo, I, is going to become me. Just like I becomes myself when we're talking in English. So these are the 3 steps, and it might be a little strange at first if you haven't worked with these before. So I'm going to ask you to go ahead and list the verbs here. Then list them conjugated in the yo form. So you can use the second column just to conjugate them. And then use the third column to actually write a sentence. So I'm going to show you a couple examples, especially so we can take a look at those spelling change verbs. Okay, so let's start. I'm just going to start personally in the order in which I do things. So that's going to save me time when I get to my other activities. So the first thing is the verb despertar, because you have to wake up every day before you do anything else. I'm writing it here. It has the se. I haven't conjugated it yet, but remember that that verb has a spelling change. So I'm going to use the space over to the side, especially because you see I write very large, to show you the conjugation. So we have our despertar se. I'm going to take off that se. That has to go away. But thank you for letting me know that you are reflexive. And now I'm going to conjugate it normally. Now, desperto isn't going to be correct because I have a spelling change. So even though I've added the correct ending, I have to account that that E turns into an IE. Despierto. And when I do that, I have the correct conjugation. The third step was to add me. Now that I have me despierto, I can go back over to the third column. I can add it here in the second one first. This is just going to give you extra practice. Me despierto. And especially because when you make your sentence, you can start a sentence with something that's not the verb. So this way you can be a little bit more creative with your sentences. Down at the bottom, I have time expressions. These are just some ideas, so if you want to use different ones, you are more than welcome to do that. And you can use more than one. You could say a la una en la mañana. Or you could say siempre a la una. You can combine them. But I'd like for you to try to be as specific as possible for your actual routine. So So for me, it changes a little bit every day, but I'm just going to average it out. And I'm going to say, a veces me despierto a las 8. So here I didn't want to start off with the verb. I combined two, but I could have used a las 8 de la mañana also. I think for me, that waking up, for most people, it's obvious that it's the morning, so that's how I would naturally say it. And then after that, I go to the bathroom and I brush my teeth, probably is the first thing. So I'm going to put that here. The verb is cepillarse. And I have to put the body part, los dientes. Because you can brush your hair, you can brush your teeth, you can brush other things. I'm going to go back over so I have more space so I can conjugate this. Cepillarse. Now the good thing is when I conjugate the verb, I can use that again when I'm talking about brushing my hair. I just have to change the body part. And that'll be the same for lavar, washing your hands versus washing your face. I'm going to conjugate this by taking off the SE, step number 1. I'm going to conjugate like normal. There's no spelling changes here. It becomes cepillo with my O ending. And now I'm going to put my me in front. Me cepillo. And then I can drag down los dientes or whatever I am brushing on my body. You'll notice that in Spanish you don't actually say my when you're talking about body parts. You should just say, I brush myself the teeth. I know it sounds funny. You don't say, I brush my teeth like we do in English. So I'm going to put my conjugation here. Me cepillo los dientes. And since that's something I definitely do a couple times a day, I'm just going to put my time expression at the end. Tres veces al día. So what I'd like for you to do is to go through and put your verbs in order of the order that you do things in your day, and try to come up with sentences that really describe realistically what time you do things, either the exact time, the frequency, a combination of the both. And that'll give us some really good practice and verbs that can really describe in a much better way our daily routine. Now we're talking about hygiene right now, but you could also add in regular verbs between these to say, I study, I work, I go to school, I come home, I eat breakfast. They're not always going to be reflexive. That's going to be it for this video. You can respond beneath with your sentences, and I encourage you to be as creative as possible. So if you would like to include more, you absolutely can. You don't have to stick to just the time expressions that are right here.